Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I have a question.
Yeah, go
My
ahead.
lab I was doing my lab yesterday, and I accidentally, while I was taking I was doing the questions, I exit the page, and I was just beginning, and now I have a 30% as a score. Is there no way I can continue?
Yeah, I think you should be able to go back and finish the other
No, I'm not
questions.
allowed. I'm not allowed.
Have you tried them?
Yeah.
So you have.
They let me review it and just see my responses and the correct answers, but they don't let me finish it.
So is that for lab 1?
Yeah, for that one. And also the fact that there were in some questions where my answer was like, it didn't matter whether it was exact or not. It was for a graph. And it gave me a wrong answer, but it was literally the same or exactly the same, but just very like different from like just literally a little. It was let's just say it was literally exact, and I got it wrong.
Okay, so I'll see what you did. Anyways, I can go back and see what everybody did and see what I can do. But of course, I'd have to look at it before I can tell
You're
you
allowed to access it because like it's a Pearson.
Yeah, but I still I can access it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Should I stay like after class?
Yeah, we can look at it together.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, sir. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, so sorry for the delay because I'm just attending now. This is my first time attending this class. I had some issues there. I think I sent you the email regarding that. But I was having the same question with that person who was speaking before me regarding the lab. I noticed that we cannot redo the question. Like if you have made a mistake, I don't know how it works for the econ, but for the math courses that I was taking, like you can do a similar question or you can retry it again to see if you can improve yourself. But I just noticed that for econ, it's not the same. Like if you can give us a kind of help regarding that at the end of this course,
yeah. So that's the case because there aren't that many questions, that many choices. So if at some point you can redo 3 times, then you can try all of them. Okay, so yeah, that's how it's made.
That's how it's made. We cannot try the same question like twice or 3 times.
No. You have to be sure that you understand before you start.
Okay, I see. All right, thank you.
Anyways, so you shouldn't be too stressed out about the quizzes because there are the labs. There are many labs, and all of them, they don't count for that much compared to the exam. They're really there to make you practice and to be sure that you understand how to answer these questions.
But at the end of the day, like you're gonna see the marks for the labs, of course. So we need also to take it serious. I mean,
yes, of course. Okay. But yeah, that's the way it is. So if you want to practice, go at the end of chapters. There's a section called Quiz Me, I think, and they look pretty much the same.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay, that's all. Thank you so much. But I believe, can I stay as the same person who was speaking before me at the end, so we can, because I also have some troubles regarding the graphs. Like I thought I was doing it the same way, but like it doesn't, according to the explanation of what I've understood, because I've tried to do some catch up before I attend this class. So yeah, it seems like I was doing it the same way, but like once the answer
okay,
is
there. Yeah, so let's do that, but now we have to over
Okay.
the start the class. Okay, all right. So let me share my screen. Is that one or is that two? Okay, is that, do you see stuff moving there? Oh no, you don't see it. So it must be the other one. All right. Okay, so last time we had seen demand, then supply. So just a quick recap, demand is negatively sloped. If something happens in the world that makes people want to buy more stuff, so it can be that they have more income or that they feel that the other goods that they could buy are better or worse, then it's going to change their attitude toward buying stuff. So for every price level, they will maybe want to buy more or buy less. And so that's all the factors that can happen except price, because here it's a relation between price and quantity. So that if you say, what if the market price changes, then it's a change along the demand curve. We're going to see what this means in a few seconds. Then we'd seen exactly the reverse. So this is the supply curve, which is a function of a single thing of producers' technology. So it's not a function of what are the other products on the market, or everything that has to do with the market for a finished good, for what they want to sell. So that's going to be dictated by the price. Here, the supply is for every price point, how much is going to be produced by the producers in that market. And it's, of course, a positive slope. Why? Because what we assume is that if the market price is super low, then not very many people are going to be willing to supply this good. So you're going to have a low supply. So say 20, then 20. But if the market price is twice as high, or even 4 times as high, then everybody's going to want to enter that market and supply this good, even people that are not extremely efficient at producing it. Who cares? I may even become a plumber if all of a sudden people are willing to pay $1,000 for having their pipes fixed. Then I'm going to say, well, I don't know anything about plumbing, but let's become a plumber because I'm going to make a lot of money, and that's what we care about. So that's why we have this positive slope. And the reason why this curve would change, would shift right or left, has all to do with technology. So all these reasons. So the price of inputs. So if I become a plumber, what I have to buy. So the tools I have to buy, or everything. Technology, taxes or subsidies. If after having done my plumbing work, then I have to pay some tax to the government, or if I have to get a permit to be a plumber, then this is part of the cost of operation. So it's sort of part of the technology. Changes in weather for farmers, that's super important. The number of suppliers. So this has to do with, of course, it's going to, so yeah, it's strange to put it here because it's exactly linked to, let me put, yeah, this is exactly linked do this. So all right. So why do I care about the number of suppliers? Well, simply because if there are many suppliers, then they are going to be competing against each other quite a lot. And that will probably drive prices of input down. I say probably because who knows, maybe there are many suppliers because all of a sudden there are many firms that want to operate in that market. So the price of supply actually goes up. So then other suppliers enter the market to fill in this demand for inputs. So in that case, it would be the reverse. I don't want to go into too much into detail, but what really matters directly is price of inputs. But it's there. So, and that one I'm really not sure why it's there. Prices of other products. Maybe
Sorry,
there's a
what
reason. Yeah.
Prices of inputs are the products.
So
that
for instance, if I don't know, if I'm McDonald's, and then all of a sudden the price of potatoes goes way up, then what's going to happen? Well, I have to. So potatoes are my input. So at some point, if I have to pay more for them, then perhaps I'm not going to sell them at the same price as before because it cost me so much to buy them. So the fries at McDonald's are going to increase in price as well.
Okay,
all right.
Cool. I understand. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, so this is what happens when the supply curve shifts right or shifts left. Yeah, we have talked about this before. All right. So then here we were. So now we put the two together. We have one curve that is negatively sloped downward. So the more the quantity increases, then the lower the market price has to be for consumers to buy as much. And then I have a positive curved slope. So the more quantity, the higher the market price has to be for suppliers to be wanting to supply such a quantity. So if I have something that goes all the time down and something that always goes up, then it has to be the case that at some point, both curves are going to intersect. And this intersection is going to be a quantity at which, so the quantity is the same. So say it's 80. So suppliers want to supply 80 and consumers want to buy 80. And it is at the exact same price, which would be, so for instance, 80 here. So it would mean that the market is in equilibrium. That's the market price we get. So that's what we're going to see. Yeah. So how does that happen? Well, it's not like there's something magical about it, and people know that the price of chicken today is $7. It has to do with everybody negotiating all the time, but at some point you sort of reach an agreement. What do I mean by that? Well, it would be hard for you to. So if the market price for chicken is $7, for instance, then it would be possible to find a chicken at 6 or at 8, but it would be hard to find a chicken at $20 or a chicken at $2. If it's still the same chicken. So if it's a extremely farm intensive chicken that is really bad, then okay, maybe $2, but still it's very low. So this is what we mean. We mean that on average, people tend to spend the same thing on the same product. Yeah, so markets differ by the degree of competition among various buyers and sellers. So if there is more competition amongst buyers, that's some market. Among sellers, that's another market. I think we have a slide about this. And so since reality is complicated, we cannot describe all the possible markets and the possible ways the prices are set. What we start with is some very strong assumptions about how things work that we're going to call perfectly competitive markets. And buyers and sellers in perfectly competitive markets are going to be called price takers. So what do we mean by perfectly competitive markets? Yeah, I think I have a slide about this. Yeah, okay. So actually there are more conditions. So I'm going back, of course, after that. I just want to say what we mean by this. So perfectly competitive markets. Yeah, so this is the reason why we say perfectly competitive markets. So yeah, 3 or even more conditions. So there's a large number of consumers and a large number of producers. So it means that if I'm a consumer in a large market, then my decision to buy or not buy something is not going to have a big impact on the market price. Same for suppliers. If they decide to buy more or buy less, it's not going to impact the whole market price because there are so many of them. So you may think of this type of market like maybe in the Middle Ages when you had many different small shoemakers. So if you go to that shoemaker or that other shoemaker or that other shoemaker, well, it's all shoes. They all do mostly the same thing, and their product are mostly homogeneous. So you don't have a big reason to go to one or the other. So that's the other condition there. So they're homogeneous. So yeah. So other assumptions. Yeah. Other assumptions. Perfect information. So nobody's hiding anything. It's not like you're buying something and you don't really know, is it going to work well or not? Or I can't really know what price I'm going to pay at the end. No, everybody knows what price they are going to pay. No transaction cost. So you could, in principle, teleport yourself to a grocery store in Joliette or in Quebec or in Montreal to buy some good if you thought that was cheaper there. So it means that basically everybody has access to everybody else as a seller or buyer. So all of these things drive competition the highest possible. So the way for me to not compete with my neighbors is if I'm able to sell my own stuff and keep my consumers captive. And so if, for instance, I'm a cell phone supplier, and then I say, oh, if you change contract, then you're going to have to pay $10,000 to me. Then okay, nobody's going to change contract. So I'm stifling competition this way. So that's not the case here. No price for changing supplier, no price for anything. All right. And just to test your knowledge, so if this is not the case, or rather, let's start with 2. If this is not the case, if you don't have a large number of producers, even if you have a single producer, then then what type of market would that be?
A monopoly.
A monopoly.
Yeah, exactly. Reverse. One producer. Monopoly market.
Sir, I have a question. What do you mean by monopoly market?
Yeah, so it's only one firm on the market. So for instance, in Quebec, we have only one firm that produces electricity, and that's Hydro-Québec. So Hydro-Québec is what we would call a monopoly. Now it's a state-controlled monopoly, so its mission, quote unquote, is not to just make profit, but to actually provide electricity to all Quebec people. So they cannot do whatever they like. But if you have a monopoly, I don't know how. Yeah, if Hydro-Québec was a private firm, and somehow it was the only firm providing electricity for everybody, then they would have a tremendous amount of power over consumers. They could charge you 10 times the rate for your electricity, and you would be stuck because then electricity is such a fundamental good that everybody needs, that they would say, oh, you think it's too expensive? Oh, well, you can always not buy it. Oh, wait, we're the only suppliers, so I guess it means you don't have electricity. So you can cook with gas, and you could light yourself with
Or
candles.
you can invest in solar panels.
Oh yeah, so that's good. So that's a fundamental thing that has to be true for a monopoly, is they have to be a monopoly on a market for which the alternatives or the substitute aren't that available. Otherwise, of course, if it's super easy for people to use solar power, for instance, then it doesn't matter if you're a monopoly, because as soon as you try to hike your price by 1 cent, everybody says, oh, well, I can just have my own electricity at home. So it doesn't mean anything to be a monopoly. To be a monopoly is to have market power, is to be able to squeeze all the buying power of every one of your customer to the last cents. So that's what it means to be a monopoly. All right, so that's for a monopoly market. So what's the reverse of having a large number of consumers? What if you have only one consumer in the market? So many knows?
Oligopoly?
No. Oligopoly is a small number of producers on the market. Yeah, so oligopoly.
Would it be a niche market for number one?
Yeah, it's not, of course, because very, very few people want to buy it. So it's not going to be something super. So nobody knows. It's not something that you hear a lot on the news, for instance. So it's normal. So reverse, let's go to one single consumer. So monopsony market. And what example can I give you? Very few, but one would be something like national defense. Why? Because you might have some firms like Lockheed Martin, or I don't know who else, but yeah, some firms who are able to supply people with
Oh, the hammers.
armament, but there's a single government that's going to buy it. So this single government is able to, again, have buying power.
Is that the same as a niche market, or is that niche market is still a little bit larger scale than that?
Well, I mean, niche market would mean a market where it's very specialized, but or not a lot of people interact. And yeah, I can't tell the last time I went to buy a F-15 on the market. So yeah, so not a lot of people need fighter planes in their lives. So that's why it's a small market. So you would say it's a niche market. Is that some technical term, niche market? I don't know. I've never heard it.
I don't know.
Yeah. So to me, it just means a small market.
Right.
So some other example could be Walmart, because some people have complained that Walmart arrive in some town, and so they drive competition away. So it's kind of not so good for consumers, because now there's only Walmart, but yeah, they're very cheap, so it's okay anyways. But what that means too is that they drive away competition, so now they're the only people you can sell to if you're producing something. So it means if you are a small producer, a small supplier, now you have a single big store where you can actually sell the good you're producing. So then Walmart is able to exert some power on these local sellers. Yeah, so that would be some example.
Sorry, can you repeat regarding the competitive market?
Yeah, competitive market is large number of consumers, large number of producers, homogeneous goods. So this what I mean by that is not a differentiated brand.
So all those three points refers to the competitive market.
Yeah. And also perfect information on the quality of goods, on the prices, no transaction costs, no uncertainty, no nothing. It's really it's competition at its purest. So does that happen in real life? No. In real life, you always get some different brands, or there are transaction costs. You have to go to the store, so maybe you go to that store because that one is farther. I don't know. But what we're describing here is some ideal, something that we can work with to understand how market works. And then you can add, you can remove some assumptions there to study things like monopoly markets, for instance. But at least we understand how a well-functioning market works.
Sir?
Yeah.
Is taxes mandatory? Can you find firms who don't like tax?
So government tax, no?
The government tax, but like, is it? But like firms too. Like if you go to buy something, they tax. It is like tax everywhere.
Well, yeah, but so you have to pay the tax when you buy, but that's the law that the government decides.
Oh, okay.
Or sometimes you can have I don't know, an ad that says, "Oh, we pay both taxes," but it's just what this means is, "Oh, our price is not as high because it's 15% lower." But you could say it's my price. You could just not say that and charge a 15% lower price. Yeah. Okay, so now let me show how this works. here it is. So so again, you shouldn't have some notion of time here. This is a static thing, so it's something that just happens. What you have description there is for this special moment in time, what would be the possible price quantity couple that the consumers would like, what would be the pair of quantity and price that the producers would like, and then you find the one that's compatible with both of them. So here it happens to be, I don't know, 60 for the price, and you don't even, yeah, price 60 and okay, and 65. Yeah, so that one is the right one. All right, so that's a market equilibrium right there.
I have a question, sir. How did you find out? Like I can see for the 60, but for the 65, how did you?
Well, I don't have to do anything. It's something that is given by the world. So
Okay.
so I know that this is the numbers that describe the demand. So if the price is 20, then the quantity demanded will be 110. So people, yeah, so people are going to be really going to buy. If the price is 100, then the quantity demanded is going to be only 20. So that's actually, I'm not too sure if the graph is okay, because they say that if the price is oh yeah, no, it works. If the price is 100, then the quantity demanded is
40.
Yeah, it looks like 40. Oh yeah, okay, it works. All right. And then so what I have to do is look at all my numbers there, and when there's a see where there's a crossing. See, there's 110, 20, then 85, 45, then bingo, 65, 65. So that's my equilibrium. And then if I go too far, then it starts to diverge again. So I know that this is the market equilibrium. And what do we mean by this? We mean market clears. What do we mean is there's exactly the same amount produced as there is bought. So no excess supply, no excess demand, no shortage, no nothing. So it's the perfect place. So everybody is at the nirvana of consumership. So yeah.
But sir,
Yeah.
for example, for me, like I think that when the price gets more expensive, like the quality means that means that the quality of the products is better than the ones that are cheaper. So I don't know why. I mean, the people that are rich maybe can like want to buy this one because maybe, for example, for a car that's like expensive, then why do you have like to buy the cheaper one? Maybe there's like something that's messed up with it. I don't know. Like,
So let me go back to this slide there. So the goods are homogeneous. So you have to imagine there's a single sort of car. So actually, car is not a great example of this sort of perfectly competitive market because you have brands and it's complicated. So we don't want to go there. So imagine a market for toothpaste where everybody produces the same sort of toothpaste. So this only describes, if for this exact type of toothpaste, which everybody knows about, everybody knows what's inside it, everybody can buy whatever toothpaste they like at whatever store. Then if the price is very high, then people don't want to buy it, but suppliers would want to supply a lot. If the price were very low, then suppliers wouldn't want to supply it, but consumers would be super happy. So it has to be somewhere in between. Where is it? It's at 60, 65. So this is all what it's saying. No different products.
So there won't be a question about the quality of the product then. For example, something at Dollarama and something versus like H&M or something like that.
Yeah,
Louis Vuitton.
yeah. I'm not. It's not a electoral promise that there won't be a question about quality, but
I hope so.
so what? So of course, what's if there's a higher quality? So if it's a higher quality, so if you have a difference between a cheap car that costs $10,000 and a sports car that costs $100,000, then okay, it's a car. You name it a car. It's the same sort of product, but can you say it's the same product? No, it's completely different. So they have different features, and so there's the real reason why one is very expensive and one is very cheap.
Yeah, and after it will depend about the brands. They choose to whether get it cheaper or expensive is the competitive thing, I think. Yeah, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Exactly. All right, so that's market equilibrium. So just to test your knowledge, what would create excess supply? Can you think of a situation in which suppliers would want to supply a lot and buyers would want to not supply not want to buy a lot?
When the price is high and like the buyers are not solicited to buy the products.
Yeah, but in that case, the price should be lower, right? If there's no reason for the price to stay high, so it means there's too much production. So
Would it be like a shortage of inputs? Or an excess
During
of
a
inputs?
recession?
You're all saying some different things. Okay, I'm seeing that it's quite not as obvious as I thought it would be. Go ahead. Do you have a suggestion?
I was thinking, for example, if like suppliers want to push some sales product that they want to push so that they can be done with it, probably they can put it on a lower price so people can actually buy a lot of quantity of products that they're on sale. For example, like retail, they always put on a lot of product for summer on sale, so that people like buy it so that they can be pushed out from there.
Yeah. All right. So these are all things that that reflect like a punctual disequilibria in the market, which happen all the time, but they wouldn't happen forever. So yeah, what I'm saying here is, imagine that this is something that it's I don't know if you have this movie in English, but in French, the title is Le Jour de la Marmotte or something. So it's everything, every day, everything happens the same way all the time. So then the question is, Groundhog Day, yeah, exactly, sorry. Yeah, so it's always the same. So would there be a reason for there to be an excess supply all the time? Because it means that there's an excess supply today, tomorrow, the day after. So the stock in the stores that gets unsold gets bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. So all what you're saying is things that can't happen all of a sudden. I think the best thing I could tell you is tell you right away the answer, so we can move on and look at all these other situations that may happen. So what I was thinking about is something that has to do with government intervention. So say the government just says, oh, I deem that on this market, a price of 60 is too low. Oh, yeah, the poor. So imagine it's farm supplies. So something like, I don't know, milk. Imagine the price of milk is $1, the equilibrium price. And the poor farmers say, yeah, we're starving. Please make us give us a better price by law. So then the government could say, oh, I'm going to set a price floor. So in that case, the price floor would say, oh, you cannot buy something at, so imagine it's 60, then the price floor would be 100. So if you have a price floor,
Are there
then
instances of that on other markets other than farming?
yeah, in all sorts of markets. So I can give you a very good example. Labor market. In the labor market, there is a price floor. What is it?
The minimum wage.
Yes, minimum
salary.
wage.
Yeah.
Minimum wage is exactly that. It's a price floor. We're saying you cannot hire somebody and pay that person $2 an hour. It's too low, even though that person would maybe be happy to work for $2 an hour. And you would be happy to hire that person $2 an hour. The law says you cannot do that. So that's a price floor. And what happens with the price floors? Then, of course, since the price is way higher than equilibrium, then suppliers would be super happy to supply much more to the market. But consumers, are they happy with the high price? No, so they don't want to buy this. So in that case, you get an excess supply, right? Now it's not written there, price floor. So I think this is more advanced stuff. So don't get too hung on it, but just to give you the kind of thing that may happen. So it's something that we would say is makes the market out of equilibrium. And then the opposite would be this. So what would that be?
Price ceiling.
Yeah. This is saying, oh, poor consumers, they have to pay so much for this. It's unfair. So we're going to say by law that you cannot pay more than, say it's here, it's 20. Then what happens? So consumers are happy. Oh, now I can buy it. It was $60, way too expensive. Now it's only $20. So I can go to the store and buy it. But, oh, wait a second. How much is actually there to buy? Well, there's only 20 units to buy. So that's the sad thing about it, is now consumers would be super happy to buy it at 20, but suppliers say, oh, there's no way for me to make a profit and sell all that much. So the quantity that's going to be on the market is 20. So that would be disequilibrium on the other side of it. And what we, at first glance, what we say is, if you have no law or no reason for the price to stay too high or stay too low, then markets will tend towards the equilibrium and tend towards a situation where there's no excess supply and no excess demand. All right.
Sorry, sir. To come back to your question, you said what would make the suppliers like sell more products? That would be the price policies. What you're explaining to us, right? Like the government putting kind of some policies that will come back to raise the price on the market.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is, I don't know if you're going to get questions about this, especially in the labs or the exam, because it's something I'm adding there. But what I can tell you is this is important, and you're going to learn it at some point for sure. All right. Okay, so going there, I think I want to, yeah, I think I'm going to make my own example. It's going to be better. So we can just always work on the same page. So here I'm going to share my screen and show you. You can still read that while I'm preparing my stuff. All right, so let us draw a market. I'm basically doing the exact same thing as there are in the notes, but I want to do it in front of you so you see what's happening. So let's use red for this. Let's use blue for this. So here my supply and demand are straight. It's not, it doesn't have to be this. They're like, they look curved and in the notes. Nobody knows what the real shape is. So you have to estimate it, and it's not easy. So this is quantity. This is price. Okay. And this is so this we write it P star for equilibrium price. And here we see, we're going to see it's Q star for equilibrium quantity. All right, so we start with this. So imagine that it's been going on for 10 years and every year and every day, that's always what happens. So the equilibrium price is P. Imagine it's, you can see it's $100. Or yeah. What market do you like? Chicken market, for instance. So imagine the chicken, roasted chicken is $10. So that's the chicken market. I ate roasted chicken yesterday and I like it. So that's the amount sold in stores. Okay, so what can happen? What can change the equilibrium? So we've seen two things. So some things that can shift the demand, something that can shift the supply. And if one shifts, then it's only that curve that shifts, and it's going to be a movement along the other curve. So what I'm saying is, for instance, imagine that the cost of chicken feeding goes down. Okay, so the first question is, what is this going to affect? Is this going to affect the supply or the demand of chicken?
It'll affect supply.
Yes. So is this going to move to the right or to the left?
The right.
Yes. So if the cost of feeding my chicken goes down, it means, oh, I can be more profitable and supply more of it. Or equivalently, it means that for certain quantity, I was asking $10 for my chicken, but given that it cost me less to produce my chicken, so for the same quantity Q star, I'm going to not ask 10, but ask, for instance, $8. So both are equivalent. So, oops.
I have a question, sir.
Yeah.
So when, for example, this we need to increase the supply curve, does it shift at the right or at the left? I have some confusion, like regarding that.
So it depends what I'm telling you. So you have to look at what's happening in the world. So I'm telling you, for instance, oh, it just happens that the cost of feeding chicken goes down. So if it's not a too complicated question, then you can kind of guess that what this means is, oh, it's the cost of the inputs for the suppliers is lower, so they can supply the same good at the lower price. So you know that it's, and I'm going to put this with right there. Yeah. So you know that the supply curve is going to shift right.
So that means that it's gonna decrease.
So what's decreasing actually? So I'm going to show what the new equilibrium is. So according to you, what has decreased? Quantity or price?
The price, because the suppliers are gonna lower the price given the fact that the cost of the chicken has lowered too.
Yes, exactly. So something happens on the market, and then in terms of price and quantity, anything can happen. Something that may change the supply or demand will increase or decrease quantity, increase or decrease price. So that what this is saying is, if you observe in the world the market price has gone up, you cannot know if it's something that has to do with demand or supply. You have to have information about what has happened, because everything is possible.
Yeah,
So,
I understand, but like I was asking for this example that you were giving us because I see that the supply curve has just shifted on the right, so this means that it has lowered, right?
All right, and then so that's number one.
But like, sir, there's not like a rate or like an amount of when we say goes down, it's not like precise, no? Like we have to have like a rate, like it goes down like from, for example, 5% or like I don't know.
Oh, you have to. So you're saying in real life, how can I predict how much the price is going to be affected by something? This is, it's very difficult. And economists are blamed all the time. Oh, but you didn't anticipate that this. We do our best.
Okay.
All right. So second thing, what could go wrong or right? So imagine that the cost of something else, or weather. Yeah, if chicken are inside, then the weather is not too important. But okay, let's say workers in chicken farms demand better wages. Okay, so now what is going to happen with the new demand or supply, price, quantity? Do your best.
The supply curve will move to the left.
Yes, exactly. So now I'm a chicken producer again, and so before I had something that made my input prices go down. So I was happy instead of selling at 10 to sell at say 8 or 6, whatever. Now it's the same, but in reverse. Now I'm unhappy with what's happening, but that's life. So this is my new, so let me use some other color. Let's say purple. So in that case, it would go on the other side. And what happens to equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity?
Quantity goes down and the price goes up?
Yes. All right, third situation. And note that in terms of demand, nothing has changed. For consumers, the only thing that matters is, it looks like on the market there is fewer chicken and the price is higher. Okay, well, it means that these people there that were not willing to pay all that much for a chicken, they're just not going to buy any. And now only people who really, really like chicken are going to be the one who will be able to buy it, and they're going to have to pay a higher price for that chicken. So we would be there. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if I should. Yeah, I think I'll just make a new graph. Or oh no, I can go here. All right. So very quickly. Okay. So 3. So let's just say the price of I don't know, pork goes down. So what happens? Is that a change in supply of chicken or a change in demand of chicken?
Demand?
Change in demand.
Yeah.
Goes
And
up.
go ahead.
Does it go higher?
The demand for chicken goes lower.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, because now pork is so cheap that tonight I think I'm going to just buy pork instead of chicken. So it means that for every quantity of chicken, then instead of being willing to pay 10, I'm just willing to pay. So this was 10, for instance. Then here I would be only willing to pay 6 or 8. What's going to happen? Then the quantity is going to go down, and the price is going to go down. So
on the graph, if the line goes down, that just means there is a higher demand.
If the line goes down, I'm not done with my. So this is quantity. This is price. If the line goes down, then it means that, for instance, if I was here, then at this point, if the price of chicken is 10, then the quantity sold in the market is Q star. Now, if the demand goes down, it means that people, instead of for that quantity, instead of be willing to buy 10, to pay 10, they would only be willing to pay, say, 7. Or say, if you want to say it in another way, if the price stay 10, then the quantity people would be willing to buy at 10 would be not Q star here, but this new lower quantity there. Right? So it's the same thing. It's a shift in the supply, in the demand. That will go that way. And actually, the new equilibrium is not going to be here or not going to be here. It's going to be at the place where the new demand crosses the old supply. So it's going to be exactly there.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When, let's say, the price of pork goes down, the quantity of demand for chicken goes down, and the price of chicken goes down also, or sometimes it could be just one at one time, and the other doesn't happen. Like if they just lower the price, but the quantity doesn't go down.
Oh, that's a very good question. And do somebody have an insight on that? So
You won't be on the point of equilibrium.
yeah, but imagine I want to. So what she's saying is, does it have to always be two things that adjust, right? The price and the quantity. Could it be only the quantity or only the price?
Does it depend if the variables are dependent of each other or not?
Yeah, it's sort of depend on that. So I'm going to say it. So it depends on the supply. So the demand goes down. So this we have said it. Now, why did the equilibrium go from a high price, high quantity to low price, low quantity? Well, it's because I have moved along this supply there. Imagine that the supply is not that one, but for instance, like this, like almost flat. What does that mean? This is something that we're actually going to see shortly. It's almost infinitely elastic supply. What this means is the suppliers, they really want to pay 10, and if you ask them to, if you say, oh, the market price is not 10, it's 9, then they say, oh, I don't want to sell anything else. So in that case, where would the new equilibrium be? It would be here at the crossing.
Is that like the phone plan market in Canada, where like all of the companies all have the same price and they don't want to change it because they don't?
Yeah, so this is more complicated. It's a really oligopolistic market. So yeah, the phone market in Canada is like the worst in the world or close to it, which is saying something. But yeah, they make so much profit. So it's really here, it's perfect competition. So we're far from there. But yeah, what you would imagine is a market where the range of positive profit is so small, is so tiny that as soon as you lower a bit the price, then no firm is making profit and they all go bankrupt. Yeah, and in that case, what would happen? Well, the market quantity would decrease tremendously, and the market price would almost stay the same because they're unable to supply the market if the price is not that price. And then the reverse would be a market which would have very low elasticity. So it would be a supply like this, for instance. So if the supply looks like this, then this is a market in which the suppliers, they don't have any choice. They have to supply Q star. So that's the quantity that they produce, and they are stuck with it. So even if the market price goes way up, they cannot supply more. And even if the market price goes way down, they cannot supply less. Well, in that case, what could happen to the equilibrium? Well, the new equilibrium would be an equilibrium in which the price would be much lower, but the quantity hasn't changed. So if the quantity cannot change, then all what's going to change is the price. And if the price cannot change what we were before, then all that can adjust is the quantity. So I'm telling you this, it's more advanced than this chapter, but it's going to be useful for the next chapter. By the way, what time is it now? But I don't have my
9:48.
9:48. So we go until 10. All right. All right. So we've seen 3 things. So let's see a fourth one. So the income of consumers go up. This is not there. So what would happen then?
The price will go up.
There's gonna be much more demand.
Yes. So in that case, it's the reverse. So now people have money to spend, and they say, oh yeah, well, now I can buy my chicken every night. I'm happy and I'm rich. So the supply goes up. And so what happens to market price? Well, they're happy to pay more because they have money. So this goes up here. And of course, then since they're happy to pay more, so the suppliers say, oh, all right, now if the market price is higher, we're willing to supply more. So this goes there. Yeah, in that case. Yeah, price goes up and quantity goes up. So you see that, so these 2 things were changes to the supply, and these 2 things were changes to the demand. These 2 things here were movement along the demand, and these 2 things here were movement along the supply. Okay, so
Is it possible for you to just zoom out so I can take a picture of this, please? Thank you so much.
Are you gonna post this?
yeah.
Perfect,
Yeah, I
thank
can
you.
add that to the but so all what I've written there, it's in the book and it's in the slides. So I can go back to the slides real quick.
Sir, do you post recorded lectures?
Yes, all the time.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the first one? Affects the supply, right?
Yeah, cost of chicken feeding. So that's something that affects the farms. So I, as a consumer, I don't have to know anything about what's happening to the farm. Just so happens that I see that all farmers are unable to supply the same quantity as before, and they're asking me a higher price. So what happens? Well, it's the supply that became. Oh no! Here, yeah, sorry. It's better for the farmers. Yes, sorry. So the feeding goes down. The cost goes down, so they're able to produce the same chicken at a lower price, so they can sell it at a lower price. So the supply goes down and goes to the right. So it's here, and we get a lower price and a higher quantity.
Thank you.
All right, so all of these things, you could memorize all these things. Okay, movement of the supply, movement of the demand, price increase, price decrease. You can memorize all the different cases, but really the trick for you to do well is to use your judgment and ask yourself, okay, so what the situation I'm describing there, is that something that affects the willingness of people to buy the product or the ability of supplier to supply it? And okay, how do I expect that this is going to affect market price or quantity supplied? And if you use your intuition, it goes a long way. Of course, I've been doing teaching this for a while, so for me it's natural. But so yeah, what I'm advocating is to understand the mechanism rather than just learning this by heart. And this is the fundamental of economics. So every time some non-economists ask you, oh, what do you think is going to happen if this thing happened? Then this is something that you have to think, so what's the supply curve in that context? What's the demand? What's the market structure? It allows you to give a quick answer that is, you're not going to be able to predict, oh, I predict that the price is going to go down by $2.76. Nobody can do that. But it gives you some intuition as to how people react and what's going to happen in the market. Okay. Yeah, so these are all the things that we just saw. So increase in demand, so movement along the supply, decrease in demand, movement along the supply, increase in supply, decrease in supply. So these are four things that we just saw. So this is a movement of the demand, so of consumers' willingness to buy the thing that leads to a movement along the supply curve. This is a shift in the supplier's willingness to supply stuff. So if the feeding becomes cheaper or wage of employees become bigger, larger, and this leads to a movement along the demand curve. All right. Last thing about this is relative price and inflation. So you don't have to think too much about this. The only thing I want to say is the following. So when we're saying, so the price increases, for instance, what we have at the back of our mind is the price of chicken increases, for instance, but the price of all other goods of, I don't know, your house or other food you could buy or anything else stays roughly the same. But if you have some change that affects all prices at once, so this is what we would call inflation. So inflation is so inflation is the rate of increase in prices in all prices over a given period of time. So you measure it with the consumer price index or the producer price index. This I've already talked about it. So that's not what's happening there. It's not that prices, that what we're saying there is the price of, say, chicken changes and everything else stays roughly the same. So it means that the relative price of chicken compared to the price of other stuff you could buy becomes higher or becomes lower. So that's what they're saying there. It's the relative price that matters for this. But yeah, I mean, that's what's at the back of all our mind there. So yeah, it's partial equilibrium. All right. So that would be it. Again, let me check my time. Oh, okay, so 3 minutes left. So yeah, I won't have time to start talking about the. Oh yeah, but maybe what I can do is in the last 3 minutes give you a small math example. So let me share my screen again. Okay, this one there. Okay, so small example. Mathematical example. So imagine that the quantity supplied, demanded, so QD, which is function of market price P is 10 minus PD minus P. So here, this is how does that look? It looks like this. Oh yeah, maybe I should stick to the, yeah, okay. Yeah, I won't do that. Change of plan, because it's better to have a
So if the price was 0, the quantity demand was going to be 10.
Yes, okay. So it's better to, so everybody sees my blank sheet of paper. Okay, so QD of P equals to 10 minus P. So what does that look like?
What is this exactly an example of?
Supply and demand. It's just a numerical example.
Okay, no, I wasn't sure if it was the inflation stuff that.
No. This inflation stuff, it's there. So I'm saying what they wanted to say, but yeah. So this is P and this is Q. So if you want to draw this, you ask yourself, when the price is 0, so what's the quantity demanded? It's 10. So it's this point right there. And then when the quantity demanded is 0, what is the price? Well, so you shift you add price on both sides. So you get P equals 10. So you know that the quantity is going to be 10 and the price is, when the price is 0 and vice versa. And then you would have, say, Q S, quantity supply, function of price, which will be something like equals P.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't understand really well why it stays the same, like just like inverse. I mean, it's like the opposite, but why? Like the quantity and the price remain on 10 when the other one is 0. Right? But why?
So it's a function. What we're saying is, if the market price were 10, so the quantity demanded would be 10 minus 10, it would be 0.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So if everybody would think, oh, that's so expensive, I don't want to buy it. So that's what we're saying.
I understand now. Thank you.
And then the supply is no problem. And then the supply is a positive relation of both between quantity and price. So the easiest is quantity supply is equal to price. So it looks like this. So this would be QD. This would be QS.
So this is like a formula, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's linear, so it's easy to solve. And then to find the equilibrium, what should I do?
I have a question real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
If the Q is, in place of our x-axis and the y is or the P is in place of our y-axis, then why does in the equation the P still appear there? Wouldn't that make it like a straight line or something?
Oh yeah, so yeah, maybe I should have made them and so they're not straight line, but yeah. I never know how much detail I should give you. But yeah, maybe you're going to be confused because normally you think you think in terms of the y is here and the x is here, so you think y as function of x. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So in that case, there's another way to write it is the inverse supply and inverse demand, and that would be PS of Q, which would be also equal to Q. And you would have PS of PD of Q, which would be 10 minus Q. And why is this the case? So here you really see that this is the price as function of quantity, but it really is the same thing. Only thing that I did is I put the price there and the quantity there, but you see that the equation stays the same. It's just that for these numbers, the equations are, they look very similar. I didn't want to confuse people, but yeah, maybe it's too ambitious to start doing this with 3 minutes left, and now we're over time. But
sir,
yeah,
I'm so confused about the 10 minus P or 10 minus Q. Could you re-explain it?
Okay. So it's the same thing that we've just seen. We have a supply curve and a demand curve. It's just that now I'm giving you a formula to see what it is exactly, what it is in terms of numbers, quantitatively. Oh, and this is yeah. Anyway, so the class is kind of finished, so I think I'm going to leave it at that and quickly go back over that next time, because yeah, it's the kind of thing I should do when I have more time.